glorious sound of a big V8. Enjoy it while it lasts. As the auto industry is going into full electric, big V8 three-row SUVs like this Dodge Durango SRT 392 will be a distant memory. But for now, you can still get your hands on one. So what's it like to live with this big, noisy family hauler? Let's go for a drive and find out. So what is making all of that noise under the hood of this Dodge Durango SRT? It's a monster of an engine, a 6.4 liter naturally aspirated V8. It produces 475 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. Dodge claims a 0 to 60 time of 4.7 seconds, and other publications like Car and Driver have managed to get it down to as low as 4.1 seconds. Mind you, Car and Driver does like to omit a 3-foot rollout, so just be aware of that. But no matter how you look at it, a sub 5 second 0 to 60 mile an hour time is really impressive for something that weighs as much as this does. Like many other big V8 American engines, this has loads of torque and power everywhere in the RPM range. And it's accompanied by a very intoxicating sound. Of course, there is a very big price to pay for all this grunt. You're not going to be driving by too many fuel stations, and you're going to be paying quite a lot at those fuel stations when you do stop. Obviously, if you're already considering this big, powerful SUV, then you already know that fuel economy is not its forte. But in case you're wondering, it is officially rated for 18.3 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 12.2 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. Currently, I'm averaging about 19 liters per 100 kilometers. And that's because, well, just listen to it. On highways, I can somewhat believe the fuel economy figure because this engine does have cylinder deactivation, so it'll run on just 4 cylinders if you're really gentle with the throttle pedal. But it's hard to be gentle with the throttle when you have that noise coming out the back and all this speed that builds up along with it. Changing gears is an 8-speed automatic transmission, and in normal everyday driving, so when you're in street or auto mode, the transmission is very smooth. Of course, if you change it into track mode, then the shifts become much more ferocious and also faster. Plus, the steering wheel mounted paddle buttons, because they're not really full paddle shifters, you actually have more buttons just underneath them behind the steering wheel. They are really fast to react in the track mode. So overall, this transmission is actually really good. Dare I say it, almost about as good as what the Germans offer. To stop this heavy and fast SUV are Brembo front and rear calipers with 2-piece rotors, on the front at least. These brakes are powerful, but not so powerful that they'll rip your face off when you're just poodling around town. The brake pedal is firm and still easy to modulate for smooth stops. These brakes are very well calibrated. For such a big SUV, the Dodge Durango SRT 392 does a good job of hiding its weight. The adaptive suspension is excellent at keeping unwanted body motions in check when tossing the SUV through corners. Steering is equally impressive for an SUV of this size and weight. It is responsive and has some decent feedback as to what the Pirelli P0 summer tires are doing. Those tires were my only concern as the temperatures hovered around the 4 to 7 degrees Celsius mark during my week with the Durango, but they still provided enough grip in dry and wet conditions. One thing to note, like the Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat that I drove over a year ago, this Durango SRT also likes to follow the crown of the road, though this characteristic is not quite as pronounced as how it was in the Charger Hellcat. There are also a few different drive modes to choose from: track, sport, auto or street, snow, tow haul, eco, and custom. I'm not too sure if the eco mode really helps out all that much with the fuel economy, but it's there if you want to use it. As the name suggests, the custom mode allows you to set personal preferences. Transmission shifts, all-wheel drive torque bias, stability control, steering effort, and other parameters can be set to your liking. As you would expect with a more sporty focused three-row SUV, the ride is not as good as some of the other Dodge Durango trims like the Citadel or even the RT. That being said, it does have adaptive dampers, so they can change their stiffness depending on which drive mode you're in, and on street mode, they're actually pretty good. You can go on long family road trips and the kids won't complain about the rough ride. However, your kids will complain as soon as you switch the suspension into track mode, because then it becomes just too unbearable on city streets. It's way too jiggly. So that mode is best left for the smoothest of freshly paved asphalt roads or a racetrack. As for noises inside the cabin, you're always going to hear that big V8 engine rumbling. And as I said earlier, multiple times, it's a very good sounding engine. But when you're just cruising around at night, like how I am right now, or on highways, it's mostly tire noise that you're going to hear from these Pirelli P0 tires that this particular demo vehicle is equipped with. Also, you will hear a few rocks bouncing off the wheel wells as these tires pick them up because they are really grippy. Also, the other thing that I want to mention is that whenever this engine switches to 4 cylinders, there's a lot of vibrations throughout the entire car. It's like as though the engine is unbalanced. But as soon as you touch the throttle pedal just a tiny bit more and all 8 cylinders fire up, then it's much smoother. On the inside, the Dodge Durango SRT is pretty spacious for the passengers, but it's not the most ideal family SUV. Starting with the front seats, there is ample leg and head space for tall adults such as myself. The seating position is high, which provides good visibility even when the driver's seat is at its lowest position. The large bolsters keep you firmly in place, but the cushions are still soft enough for you to remain comfortable. The second row is not the most practical for a family SUV. Bench seats are available instead of these captain's chairs, but legroom is still tight behind my tall 6'4" driving position. Worse still, the second row does not have rails, so the seats cannot slide forwards and backwards. They can only recline. There are air vents and a third climate zone for the second row, and the seats are also heated. Getting into the third row is fairly straightforward, but there are even simpler solutions from other manufacturers. In the Durango, you have to flip down the second row backrest and then tug on a red strap at the base of the seat to tumble it forward. This does, however, allow for a lot of space to enter into that third row. In those back seats, there is just enough headroom and legroom for adults, but I wouldn't call it too commodious. The trunk is pretty generous with the amount of space that it offers. With all rows of seats up, there is 487 liters of cargo space. With the second row seats folded, there is 1,226 liters of space, and with all rows folded, there is 2,410 liters of cargo. This demo vehicle is a 2022 model year and it had a starting price of $85,840 Canadian, including destination. This particular demo vehicle had a few goodies added on and the price was $98,140 Canadian. But to help things out a bit, Dodge Canada is providing about $10,000 in discounts at the time of filming this review. These discounts will differ for your region. Unfortunately, pricing for the 2023 model year has not been announced at the time that I'm filming this video. For the almost six-figure price tag, the Dodge Durango SRT 392 has a lot of features that a family would want in a three-row SUV. Some of these include heated and ventilated front seats, heated second-row seats, heated steering wheel, power liftgates, remote start, satellite navigation, wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, 3-zone automatic climate control, wireless phone charging, and a plethora of USB ports, to name a few. The infotainment system is the latest generation, which is Uconnect 5, and it's displayed on a 10.1-inch touchscreen. As I said earlier, it does allow for wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, and for the most part, I haven't had too many issues with it. The reason why I say is for the most part is because from time to time, it would disconnect my phone from the infotainment system whenever I'm using those apps. Doesn't happen all that often, and the system does reconnect my phone afterwards, but just something for you to be aware of. Other than that, the graphics look absolutely beautiful. They're crisp and clear. The system does allow for a certain degree of customization. You can set favorites to your widgets and then just swipe down from the top to access that favorites menu. And for the most part, it's actually pretty easy to navigate around. Thankfully, a lot of the functions of the Durango are not built into the infotainment system, so you don't need to go digging around through it to change something, because all of your climate controls and heated seat and ventilated seat controls, I should say, are all underneath it. Plus other features like the launch control or parking sensors. They all have dedicated physical buttons. But if you want to change the drive modes, you have to hit the SRT button and then select the different drive mode that you want. That's the only time that you need to dig through the system to change something about the Dodge Durango. And I guess the other time would be if you want to fold down the headrest in the third row. You can do it from the infotainment system. The Durango SRT 392 also comes equipped with every safety and driver aid that is available on this model. These include automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning with lane keep, adaptive cruise control, blind spot sensors, parking sensors, and rear cross traffic alert. The Durango performed well in most IIHS crash tests, but it only received a marginal rating for the small overlap front driver's side test. So as a practical family hauler, there are better three-row SUVs out there. The Kia Telluride and the Honda Pilot spring to mind. But if you want to have some fun from a three-row SUV and you want to be the coolest parent to pick up your kids from school, then it's hard to beat the Dodge Durango SRT 392. Better yet, for 2023, the Hellcat returns with over 700 horsepower. However, if you don't want to pay the price of the Hellcat, then this Durango SRT 392 is a good blend of practicality as well as lunacy. If you'd like to know more about this Dodge Durango SRT 392, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.